evening to all the participants attending this webinar during this pandemic time. Hope so all are safe and fine with their families. Good evening to all the today's speaker, our prime movers and coordinators for today's session. With this, I would like to request Nitish Kothari ji to give welcome note on our today's session. Over to you, Nitish.
Thank you very much, Krishna Purohit ji. I welcome all the members to the second session of Lockdown Special Knowledge Series 2021. Finder CA Social Group has started this series with a unique. We have covered all the advocates, senior advocates in the profession. They will guide us with all the professional opportunities which we can have in the legal areas. For this, our second day session, we have two sessions. First session will be taken by Senior Advocate Nahar ji. He will take upon dispute resolution and arbitration and opportunities for CA in arbitration field. With that, I welcome all the members, and the second session will be taken by Advocate Manish Jain ji. He will be covering up how to invoke your rights through writ petition. Thank you very much. With that, I hand over to you, Krishna ji.
Thank you so much, Nitish ji, for giving a warm welcome note. I would like to introduce our today's speaker for the first session, Advocate Nahar sir ji. Thank you so much, Finder CA Social Group, for organizing such a wonderful special lockdown, special knowledge series and giving me an opportunity to introduce our today's speaker, Advocate Sri Nahar sir. Nahar sir is an ex-serviceman who spent nearly 20 years with Indian Navy. After completing engineering, he was deploying at INS Vikrant and different modern submarines. Thereafter, he completed post-graduation in law from Mumbai University and started practicing with Honorable Mumbai High Court since 2000. He has also been appreciating appearing at NCLT, Debt Recovery Tribunal, Securities Appellant Tribunal, etc. Besides author of a book on SEBI Act and competition law, he has also written articles on various topics relating to security law, corporate law, PEMA, arbitration, etc. His clientele includes MNCs, PSUs, large and SME corporates in India and as well as in abroad. Topic for first session is on alternative dispute resolution with arbitration opportunity for CS. To give justice to this topic, I think Nahar sir is the right person to share his experience and knowledge, which will definitely going to help all of us to generate an opportunity and to explore ourselves in the right direction. With this, I would like to thank you, sir, for giving your valuable time and hand over to you, sir, for starting our today's first session. Thank you so much, Nahar sir.
At the outset, I thank you, Sandeep ji, and your entire CA team who has organized this lecture for the benefit of the CAs and also the valuable time that we are spending in houses and to learn and to upgrade our knowledge. And the today's topic that has been assigned to me is on the law of arbitration. Now, friends, as you know, the law of arbitration is part of our CA's curriculum in syllabus as well as in the company secretaries. Now, this arbitration, how the arbitration is useful to the present circumstances and how in future the arbitration is going to grow and how the arbitration law works, we will briefly discuss, and I'll share my some sort of screen that headlines which I prepared for. Screen sharing. I'm taking assistance of someone, please.
No problem, no problem. So we can see the screen.
Okay. Next. Now, if we go by the scheme of these slides, then we'll be able to cover the most of the informations and details, and at the end we can take up the discussions. Now, as you know, in India there are large number of litigations which are filed and pending in the courts. In courts, we have three types of litigations. One is civil litigation, which are in various districts and high courts, which are civil suits. The second is commercial suits. Now, the commercial suits are recently enacted after this Modi government has come in power. For commercial courts, separate divisions are formed for commercial disputes. Now, they are also more or less, they are also in the style of the civil suits. So there are also a lot of pendency. And then, you know, there are criminal courts and criminal matters. Now, the criminal courts and criminal matters also consume a lot of time. Now, in this scenario, in the judiciary, the pending of cases and the huge time consuming, that required us to look at the alternative dispute resolution mechanism. Now, these commercial contracts out of which the commercial disputes arises, these commercial disputes are to be resolved not by resorting to the conventional method of approaching to the court of law, but by approaching a alternative dispute resolution mechanism, that is what is arbitration and conciliation. Now, why there is a need? Because there are pending cases in the courts. They are indefinitely pending, and time consuming is more, and they are more expensive. Then post liberalization after 1991, and you must have seen that the Indian government has opened up the economy and the laws are framed, and those laws post liberalization, privatization and globalization, they required to have the commercial disputes resolution, and accordingly 1996 Act of Arbitration and Conciliation Act, that was enacted, and the purpose of that was to have the quick and speedy remedy and economical and fair and efficient, and it is very easy. And the audience, if you see, the arbitration audience is so private that it is not like an open court where one has to go to a particular time. It is convenient to the parties, and they can decide the timings. And now the method of the arbitration and conciliation is by negotiations and the mediations. Now, what exactly is being done? There certain negotiations are held, mediations are pursued, and certain conciliation steps are also taken, and ultimately the arbitration is reduced in writing through the arbitrator, and arbitration award is passed. Now, what is the future potential of this arbitration? That the India is an emerging economy, commercial disputes are bound to increase, and for speedy resolution, ADR is preferred remedy. Now, friends, as you know, only the disputes which are pertaining to parties entering into agreement and any dispute arising out of those contracts, they could only be referred to the arbitration and not otherwise. Now, there are certain areas where we cannot take those disputes to the arbitration, though it does not mention in the act, but it is considered by the courts and also by the various laws that all those actions which are in personam, which are binding upon the parties, they alone can be taken in the arbitration. That means there are two private parties contracting and making agreements, and if any dispute arising out of that contract can alone be referred to the arbitration. When the another action is action in rem. The action in rem lies against the public at large. As you know, the action in rem is not something which is affecting a private right. Though someone's right is affected, but the right is against public at large. Therefore, such action in rem cannot be a subject matter of the arbitration. Now, if any crime is committed that crime is committed against the state. So such criminal matters cannot be settled by way of arbitrations, such as fraud, cheating, rape, etc. Now the divorce matters, the decree of mortgage, the rental tenancy matters, guardianship matters, IPR matters like trademark, patent, copyrights, those disputes cannot be settled even though they are part of the agreements, but it cannot be settled by way of arbitration. Then there are statutory arbitrations given in certain statutes whereby arbitration should take place in accordance with that particular statute before a particular registrar or a particular authority appointed under that. So the arbitration, any statutory arbitration is to be required to be taken up. In that case, private arbitration between the parties will not be permitted. Now we come to the historical background of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. Friends, as you know, in United Nations, the model arbitration law has been passed in 1985. Like in United Nations commercial, there is a commission who decides about the model law. Like in India, we have law commission, and based on that, the certain laws are framed. Similarly, in United Nations, there's a commercial international arbitration law, and that was decided in 1985. And General Assembly of United Nations has recommended to all countries to consider and frame such laws, so that there is a uniformity of laws. Accordingly, rules of the arbitrations were made by the UNICETRAL, and for the fair and efficient settlement of disputes. Consequently, India being a signatory to such UNICETRAL model law and United Nations, India has also enacted the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996 to give effect to those United Nations recommendations. Accordingly, the 1940 Act was repealed, 1996 Act came into force, and that is still in force, and subsequently some small amendments have been carried out in 2015 and 2019, and I think this year also some minor amendment has been done in February. Now we come to the provisions of the arbitration law. Next, same. Now there are certain provisions, they are defined in the arbitration law, such as arbitration, arbitration agreement, arbitration award, arbitration tribunal, court, international commercial arbitration, etc. The arbitration agreement is defined in section 7. Arbitration award includes the interim award. Arbitration tribunal means a sole arbitrator or panel of arbitrators. Now the court is also defined. Now the court is defined for two purposes: one for domestic arbitrations, second for international arbitrations. As you know, if in case there is no arbitration between the parties, and if the dispute is required to be मेरे को इसकी आदत नहीं है, इसकी आदत नहीं है। हेलो,
Yes, sir. You're audible.
कविता जी। So let us say there is a dispute between parties and there is an agreement, but they don't go for the arbitration. They go to a civil court of the appropriate jurisdiction where the cause of action arise and where the civil suit can be filed in respect of those cause of action. Now, those courts have the jurisdiction in respect of the matters where the arbitration exists. So, for the purposes of arbitration law and arbitration act, the court is having the jurisdiction for the domestic purpose in the district in which the cause of action arises, and the high court under which that particular party or the cause of action arises. Now, similarly, for the international commercial arbitrations, the High Court and the Supreme Court of the jurisdiction lies. Now, international commercial arbitration to the dispute arising out of the legal relationships which are defined, and one party is a foreigner and one party is Indian. So, the arbitration, international commercial arbitrations awards in such matters, they are enforceable under the Arbitration Act. There is a chapter 2 on that. Now, the party to the arbitration. Now, it is very important. If there is a arbitration agreement and the dispute arises between the parties, it is only those parties who are signatory to the arbitration agreement, they can refer the matter to the arbitrator, not the third party. Third party neither can be joined nor can be compelled to be joined. Third party, even if they are interested, they cannot intervene in the proceeding and they cannot join as a party in the proceedings. Arbitration award, if any, passed against the third party, it is not binding on the third party. And if the arbitration award is passed in favor of the third party without they being a party, that is also not good in the law, and that will be set aside. Now, when we come to the receipt of the communications, when any communication is to be sent, like a notice of dispute to be sent to the parties, then the address at which the party is residing or having an office, if it is received at that is enough. As you know, in the contracts we mention the communication to be received at particular address, then it has to be sent to a particular address only. Or if the party should send a particular communication to a particular designated authority, then it has to be received by the designated authority only. Otherwise, that arbitration reference will be wrong and arbitration proceedings will be infructuous. Then there is a waiver of right of object. There are certain non-compliances in by the party, either party in the contract, or that there is some sort of a time delay which has not been complied by either of the party. Now, the opposite party, if they don't take any objection within the particular period or within a particular stage for such non-compliances or for such objections for delay and all, then it will be amounting to waiver of such derogation. Had they taken the objection, they are derogative. Since they have not taken the objection for such non-compliances, then it will be deemed that they are the right to waiver, the right to object is waived. Now, subsequently, such right cannot be allowed to be agitated in the court for the challenge of the award or in the appeal stage. Now, then further we go to the extent of judicial interventions. There are no judicial authority who will intervene in the matters. Now, when a contract is done between the parties have referred the matter to the sole arbitrator or panel of arbitrators. No court will intervene in between. It is an independent proceeding conducted by the arbitrator, and arbitration award is done, and parties cannot be intervened by the court of law unless they adopt a procedure which are given subsequently, that we'll discuss during this course. Then administrative assistance is given by the courts from time to time for conduct of the parties. If the party by agreement, they go to the court and they seek the assistance or they can take the for administrative assistance, they can also seek from a particular institution for conducting the arbitration, or they can take a help of some experts as by way of agreement. Then now we come to important part, that is arbitration agreement. Now the arbitration agreement by the parties to submit to arbitration, either all or certain disputes which have arisen or which may arise between them in respect of the defined legal relationship, whether they are contractual or not. The arbitration clause is a separate agreement. There is an arbitration agreement which invariably contains an arbitration clause. If there is no arbitration clause, then the arbitration disputes cannot be referred for arbitration. But however, a separate agreement can also be entered into, giving reference to the earlier agreement, that in case of any difference arises or any dispute arises, then we can have a dispute resolved by the arbitrators. So the arbitration agreement should have a arbitration clause which will be treated as a separate agreement and independent. Arbitration agreement should be in writing. It should be signed by the parties, and exchange of, sometime what happens, there is an ordinary agreement, but there is no clause of arbitration reference to be made. Now exchange of letters are there, SMS, telex, or there are emails through which, if it can be gathered that the dispute will be referred to an arbitrator, then it will be treated part of a arbitration agreement. Now exchange of statement of claim and defense which is not denied by the other. In case a party file a statement of claim, the other side does not object that there is no arbitration clause for reference. When a party is not objecting and not stopping one from claiming through the arbitration, in that event, that arbitration clause will be a deemed clause. Now Section A deals with those matters which there are certain agreements where the arbitration clause is given, arbitration matter is to be referred, and arbitration should be decided by the arbitrators. However, the party has gone to the civil court, file a civil suit for the remedy under the civil law. Now, other party whose defendant, he has taken an objection in the civil court as a preliminary objection that these proceedings required to be conducted through the arbitration by way of arbitration clause as per so-and-so agreement. So original agreement should be shown to the court. Court will prima facie come to know that yes, there is an existence of dispute arising out of the arbitration, arising out of the contract. So such contract such dispute should be allowed to refer to the arbitrator, and those civil court proceedings will be halted. So a preliminary objection has to be taken by the defendant. If it is not taken at the earliest stage, then the civil proceedings will continue. But notwithstanding any arbitration agreement existing or not, if both the parties knowing fully well that there is an arbitration agreement, but still they want to pursue a civil court proceedings by civil court mechanism, then they are not barred. They can pursue it. It is their choice. There is no embargo on that. But if in civil court, if the other side has taken an objection, then the court has to send it to the direct them to take it to the matter to the arbitrator. Now further we take up section 9, which deals with interim measures by the court. When the proceedings before the arbitrator are either initiated or it is yet to be initiated, or proceedings are initiated but during the proceedings the party has gone to the court for interim orders. that district court or the high court. Sometimes even arbitration award is drawn, but it's not enforced. At that time also they can go to the court and they can go for the interim order. Now there are certain interim orders that the party can obtain from this court of law before or during or after the arbitration award is drawn. They are for such nature of interim which can be granted only by the courts. That is appointment of guardians in case there are minor, then for an interim custody of goods, then for protection of protection in respect of the any interim custody of sale of goods or securing amounts in dispute or detention. Now certain receivers are to be appointed, that can be done by interim orders of the court. Then for protection, then there are some other interim orders can be procured by the parties. Now interim orders, even the arbitral tribunal is also empowered to pass the interim awards under section 17, but there are certain interim measures and orders which can be passed only by the courts, which are given under section 9. So usually parties, they rush to high court normally for section 9 proceedings for interim orders, or section 11 for appointment of arbitrators in case the parties are not agreeing for a particular arbitrator or there is a dispute in appointment. Then section 10 deals with the number of arbitrators. See, the parties are free to choose whether they want a sole arbitrator or number of arbitrators. But the point is that there should not be even number of arbitrators. There should be odd number of arbitrators, 3 or 5 or 7 like that, so that the majority of arbitrators can sign the award. Telling which the determination of the arbitration arbitrator will be decided by the High Court upon the applications filed by the respective party. Under section 11, the High Court entertains the applications where it can appoint any national. Any national means if suppose domestic award is here, domestic award is to be drawn by domestic arbitration, the arbitrator to be appointed. Arbitrator can be outsider also or insider here, in Indian resident, or it can be a resident outside India. Or if he fails to appoint the arbitrator in 30 days, then the High Court appoints. And there is a High Court has got a limited role under section 11, that it goes into only to the dispute that they are unable to appoint the arbitrator. And the High Court must see that there is an arbitration, there is an agreement. Agreement contains the arbitration clause that the arbitrator can be appointed for the dispute resolution, and therefore the court is having only limited role to examine that there is arbitration clause or not. Only considering that the appointment will be made, no other views will be taken by the High Court. Then section 12 deals with grounds of challenge of the appointment. You know, the arbitrator is appointed, but the other party has made a challenge, taken a view that the arbitrator is not supposed to be on this ground or that ground. The grounds are stated to be like having any direct or indirect relationship with the party who is appointing, or independence, or integrated, or there is a integrity question involves that, or there is the likelihood that arbitrator will not be impartial, or there is a qualification of arbitrator seems to be questionable, or ability to complete whether in 12 months or not. There are several aspects that has to be seen, and on those grounds that arbitrator appointment can be challenged by the other party. Now, if the arbitrator is appointed, but arbitrator appointment is not challenged, with the procedure before the arbitrator is adopted, that is the rules of the procedure is self-made. That means the arbitrator makes his own rules of procedure followed by the parties. But if that procedure is challenged, then the procedure is challenged under section 13. That has to be challenged within 15 days from the appointment of the tribunal, and later order will be passed by the arbitrator. Arbitrator will pass an order either in favor or against. That order, if required, it cannot be challenged in the High Court. That same can be challenged along with the final award as and when it is drawn. Now, section 14 deals with the failure or impossibility to the act. As you know, that if there is any failure that a party has not filed a claim statement, or there is a no mandate, then that arbitration proceedings will be failed and it will be terminated and closed. Now the important section is section 16, which deals with competence of arbitrator tribunal to rule on its jurisdiction. Now the jurisdiction of the arbitrator is very important. Now the rule on its jurisdiction. The ruling is on existence and validity of the agreement. The very fundamental, the question is whether the arbitration agreement exists or not has to be decided by the arbitrator. If there is no agreement which deals with reference to the arbitration, then the arbitrator has no jurisdiction and it is acting beyond the scope of the jurisdiction. Then there has to be arbitration clause, or the arbitration clause is treated as a separate agreement, or there is an agreement which is actually partly null and void and partly valid, but that will not affect the arbitration clause. The validity of arbitration clause and continuing with the arbitration will continue. But however, fundamentally the main agreement may be null and void. In this case, the order of the court is enforceable under section 37, and that is as if like a decree is enforced in under section 37. Now, while the procedure starts with before the tribunal, what arbitration tribunal look at, that it has to give equal treatment to both the parties, and it's not that one party is given some opportunity and other party is denied of. The full opportunity has to be given to both the parties, and otherwise it will not be treated to be equal opportunity. Then there are determination of the rules of the procedure. The arbitration tribunal is not bound by the Civil Procedure Code 1908. As you all know, the civil courts are following the procedure for conducting the day-to-day proceedings under Civil Procedure Code 1908. Now, there is also a law of evidence, Indian Evidence Act. Now, these two are being followed by the civil courts in the judiciary, and for trial of the matters, the law of evidence is required to be used. Now, the Civil Procedure Code and Indian Evidence Act, they are not bound to be followed by the arbitrator. That is the reason this entire arbitration proceeding is closed in a very limited period within 12 months. So presently, the law is changed in 2015 that from the date of reference to the arbitrator, the proceeding has to be closed by 12 months and award has to be passed. Now, this is only possible because there are no jargon of formalities like in civil court. The application after applications are to be taken out under CPC. Then the evidence law and the trial, cross-examination, then examination in chief, all those are not required to be conducted under arbitration proceedings. However, nowadays there are other provisions under which the arbitrators and the parties, they have certain powers to summon the witnesses and examine them and all that. Then the party is free to agree on their own procedure. Then power of arbitration tribunal to consider they must consider the admissibility of the facts, the relevancy of the facts, the materiality in respect of this evidentiary value, and the weightage of the evidence. Though there is no binding as per the section 19 that the Evidence Act 1872 is not applicable, CPC is not applicable. But however, the judge has to, arbitrator has to consider the admissibility, relevancy, and materiality and weightage of the evidence. Now, the important is place of arbitration. The place of arbitration will be determined by the arbitrator tribunal, whether it is a sole arbitrator or a panel of arbitrators. Now, these proceedings are conducted by the tribunal, arbitrate tribunal. If there are more than two, then there is a presiding arbitrator, and two are the member arbitrators. If it is sole arbitrator, then it is the sole arbitrator who gives the verdict. Now, these arbitration proceedings, when they conduct, whether it is conducted in a room or in office, that become a tribunal, arbitrate tribunal, and that particular tribunal has to locate itself. That place of arbitration is very important. That will be, place of arbitration will be determined by the arbitration tribunal where it want to. Then circumstances of the case and convenient of the parties is important. If a arbitration is to be conducted, it has to be convenient to the parties. But in the case of these civil courts, if the proceedings are there, then it is not convenience of the parties, but they have to go to the place where it is located. Then for hearing of the witnesses, expert parties, or for inspection of documents, for all these purposes, by agreement of the parties, the arbitral tribunal can decide the place of arbitrations. And then commencement of arbitration is very important. For instance, if there is an agreement between two parties, dispute has arisen, considering that one party is seeking certain amounts and the other party is not paying, the notice, normal legal notice or something is given, and the other party is not responding to it, or responding but denying. And in the earlier, in original agreement of contract, there is a clause for arbitration. In that case, the aggrieved party will send a notice under section 21 for invocation of the arbitration. The notice under section 21 is mandatory, and it has to be named that notice under section 21 of Arbitration Act for invocation of the arbitration. That has to go specifically to the other side, that I am appointing so and so sole arbitrator, and the matter will be taken up, and so and so is the claim, and you are required to give your consent for the same. Or now other side is giving the consent or not giving the consent. Once it is received, the arbitration notice, from that day onward, the period starts. The period for the claim ceased from that day onward. So the commencement of proceedings will be deemed from the date of receipt of the arbitration notice. Now the language of the arbitration. Now that is important, because parties, some party may be local, some party may be from other states. So whether it is a English or Hindi or a local language, that depends upon the parties to agree, and the arbitrator will accordingly decide on that. If the parties they fail to decide on that, then the arbitrator will decide, determining the language, what language is to be adopted. Then section 23 is very important from the point of, after giving the notice of the arbitration for invocation of the arbitration, the claimant has to file a statement of claim before the arbitrator, and a copy has to be served to the respondent other side. Now the other side files their defense, the statement of defense, and then subsequently the documents are filed, then written submissions are filed, then the parties lead their oral arguments, and finally the matter is heard. So the section 23 says that what are the facts in issue, and those facts in issue and supporting the claim, the document to be submitted, and what is the relief to be sought, that is to be stated. So it is more or less similar to the courts where petitions are filed, where the statement, where the facts are dealing with their claims, then submissions, then reliefs prayed for. Now, in the case of arbitration, the hearing and written proceedings are conducted. Now, the service of documents to the either party is required, like how in courts are required. A party required to give other side a service of documents, and the arbitrator also required to give certain notices or dates, or he has to inform or intimate them. So the rules of natural justice, they are required to be complied with by the parties as well as the arbitral tribunal. Now, the tribunal to decide the oral or the presentation of the evidence, oral argument, or on the basis of the pleadings. The arbitral tribunal deciding the case on the basis of the pleadings filed before it by the parties, either by way of concluding the oral arguments, or if the parties are agreeable that on the basis of the pleadings and written submission, the order can be passed, then by the consent, the arbitration award will be drawn accordingly. Now, if the parties agree that day-to-day cases, the hearing has to be there, so it is easy for the parties to finish the matter early with the consent of the arbitrator, and day-to-day basis hearing has to be conducted. And adjournments, if there are any adjournment required to be given, then consent of the parties required, or if unnecessary adjournments are sought, then the costs are imposed without any sufficient cause if the adjournments are sought. That is similar to the courts, but the adjournments are not encouraged, and nowadays the time is fixed that arbitration award has to be drawn within 12 months from the date of reference. Then there is a default of a party. Let us say that arbitration notice is sent, arbitration is invoked, but the statement of claim is not filed. So if the statement of claim is not filed, let us say within 30 days or so, then the arbitration will terminate and it will close the proceedings. But in the case if the statement of claim is filed, if the opposite party is given notice and received that copy of the statement of claim, and if they don't file their statement of defense, in that case, on the failure of such party or default of such respondent, the arbitration will continue, and based on the facts and merits of the case, the arbitration award will be passed. Then there is a provision also relating to experts appointed by the arbitration tribunals. Let us say there are certain technical matters where engineering contracts or some other technological contracts with respect to software or something. Then arbitrator can appoint the expert, and he can summon those experts, he can examine those experts, and production of documents can also be sought from such witnesses. So these are provisions enabled in the arbitration. Okay. Then the court assistance is also given in taking the evidence. Now, for instance, arbitral tribunal and parties together, they make a submission to the relevant court under which they have the jurisdiction, make an application that they need an assistance for taking an evidence or some. Then the court renders the assistance for the limited purpose for what they are seeking the assistance. Then after this conduct of arbitral proceedings, when the arbitral tribunal comes to a conclusion that arbitration award is required to be made, then those arbitration awards are drawn under section 28. Now, while drawing the arbitration award, mainly he has to see the substance of the dispute, and he has to decide the domestic arbitration as per the laws of India. So what is important is the substance of dispute is important, which is arising out of the contract, nothing beyond the contract. Then also those facts and laws should be pertaining, the law should be within the Indian laws, it has to be decided. As it is a domestic arbitration award, so the arbitrator is limited to apply to the domestic laws, and substance of dispute has to be decided within the reasonable time, not exceeding 12 months from the date of reference. Then there are international commercial arbitrations, which the rule of the law is applicable to substance of the dispute. Now, if there is a international commercial arbitration, in that case, what happens? The law is relevant to those areas where other party is there, and as well as the Indian. So the substance of dispute with respect to the laws are expanded. Now, while making the decision, the panel of other arbitrators, let us say there are 3 arbitrators. Now, 2 arbitrators has to sign that arbitration award by majority. If one arbitrator is not signing, it's all right. But or sometimes it so happen that 2 arbitrators signing the majority of the they are signing, majority arbitrators are signing in their view as a single, and the third one arbitrator who is signing, he is signing as a dissenting arbitrator. So his views will be as a dissenting arbitrator. Now, that is also similar to how the courts give their verdict, where 3 judges are there, bench, 3 judge bench gives one half of the bench gives in favor, and let us say there are 4 members, then it is a dissenting and equal. But if there are 3, then 1 member is dissenting member, and the 2 members are giving in favor of the particular part. Now, questions of procedure may be decided by the presiding arbitrator. Now, these questions, sometimes they are challenged in arbitration under section 34, but these questions should fit into the section 34, but their decision making power is given to the arbitrators. Now, the time limit for the arbitration award, as I already told you, that the time limit is given is 12 months from the date of reference, not otherwise. Now, if within 6 months, if, let us say, arbitrator is appointed on 1st January for particular arbitration dispute, and he has to conclude by the 31st December, but that fellow conclude the proceeding within 6 months, in that case, he will be paid additional fees. There is a provision under section 29A. This is to encourage the arbitrators. It has been amended recently, and the time limit for arbitration award in 2015 is now set 12 months, and further they are encouraged to complete in 6 months, then they will be given additional fees. But however, if in 12 months, if the arbitration award is not completed, then 6 month extension is given. So 12 plus 6 months, 18 months. So 6 months extension is given by the High Court upon the application for extension, and circumstances has to be given as to what required it to be extended, and sufficient cause is to be given which required to meet the ends of justice. Then suppose there is an arbitrator, the delay is on account of him and not on account of the parties, and if the matter goes to the court for extension, in such a case the 5% fees is reduced. There is a provision in the act that 5% fees be reduced for the such delay by the arbitrator. However, the arbitrator is given opportunity to make his submission to the court that what made him to prevent from giving the arbitration award within 12 months. Now, section 29B is also inserted in 2015, whereby the fast track procedure is enabled. Now, the fast track procedure speaks that the parties agreeing to the dispute, to resolve the dispute, is by the sole arbitrator. It is mainly for the sole arbitrators, where the parties agreeing to resolve the dispute on the basis of merely a written submissions. That is, documents are filed by the, or counter documents are filed by both the parties, and then they say that we don't want oral hearings, further adjournments, you pass the award. So in such a case, without giving any oral hearings and on the basis of written submissions, the orders are passed. So those awards are passed within 6 months. The fast track arbitrations, they are resorted within 6 months. So it helps the parties and to conclude the commercial contracts and the business parties. So after 2015, now the onus is on the arbitrators not to prolong, but to finish those matters as early as possible. Then there is a provision of the settlement as well. During the proceedings of the arbitration, if at any stage, if the parties by mediation or conciliation, or if they enter into any agreement of the settlement, the arbitrator is always there to encourage them for settling. In civil court, the courts are not bound to tell the party to settle, though off record they say that let us settle the parties. But in arbitration, it is a aim and object to pursue the parties and encourage them to settle and close the matters. So the arbitrators, they do help the parties to settle the matter outside the arbitration and produce the consent terms before the arbitrator so that consent award can be passed. When the consent award is passed, the settlement award, that is enforceable like any other award which is contested award. Now, but in that case, either party cannot go for challenge. They cannot go in appeal. They cannot go it for setting aside. Now, when the arbitration award is passed, in whatever form, whether settled by consent or by otherwise, then it has to be in writing. It has to be signed by the members. Here, the arbitration arbitrator has to state the reasons and the date and place, signed by the parties. The signed copy has to be delivered to the parties, and from the date that they receive the delivery thereof, within 30 days they can challenge the award for under section 34 on the various grounds that that the arbitrator was impartial or some other grounds stated in 34. Then there is a cost provision, like civil court, there is a cost is imposed on the parties. So here the arbitration in arbitration matters also, a provision is enacted in 2015 that the cost will be imposed on the erring parties towards expenses, admin fees, legal fees, if they are not paid and all. But there is a discretion for that. Arbitrator has a discretion. It is not mandatory. Then we see the termination of proceeding. When the arbitration award is passed, then the termination of proceedings comes to this arbitration proceedings comes to an end. Now, upon these terminations of proceedings, how could be achieved? Let us say arbitration in notice is given, arbitration claim is filed, but subsequently it is withdrawn. So arbitration is terminated. Now, a final award is given, so it is terminated. If there are parties that by agreement they want to withdraw it, then it is terminated. If it is deemed by the arbitrator that it is unnecessary and impossible, there are certain occasions whereby it is unnecessary or impossible to carry out such arbitration, then it is terminated. But it cannot be terminated by death of the arbitrator or something. It has to be substituted by another arbitrator. If the arbitrator resign, out of 3 arbitrators, 2 resign for some allegation or something, then arbitration proceeding do not terminate, they continue, but arbitrator can be substituted by high court appointment or by the parties agreement. Then their arbitration award can be corrected and additional award also can be made if required. Then under section 34, the application for setting aside of arbitration award is filed in the court. That is within 90 days from the date of award. So 90 days period is given for various purposes, for correction, for interpretation, for review by the arbitrator, whatever it is. But after 90 days elapsed, then it cannot be challenged. So within 90 days, it has to be filed. And if the 90 days elapsed, then it goes for enforcement. So the arbitration award can be challenged within 90 days. And after 90 days elapsed, the section 34 will not be of any help. Then it is finality of award and binding upon the parties under section 35. Then it will be enforced under 36. Like any civil court decree is enforced, and then they require to have a stay. If there is an appeal is to be required to be filed under 37, then stay is required. Otherwise, automatic stay is not there, just merely because it is either a challenge under 34 or there is an appeal under 37. Now, under 37, certain appealable orders are only appeal, or appeal can be filed. Not anything and every order can be appealed under 37, like refusing parties or granting or refusing or setting aside certain relief under section 9, where the High Court deals with the interim reliefs. Then under section 34, the setting aside of the is refused. That is also challenged. And further, there is no second appeal. If there is a civil court matter is there, suit is filed, decree is over, then there is a first appeal, then there is a second appeal. But here there is no first or second appeal. Sorry, there is no second appeal. There is only right of first appeal. And then there are certain deposits to be made. The tribunal may ask for deposit, like in court we ask. Then the arbitration, then there is a jurisdiction. For jurisdiction, I'll take only 2 minutes. You know, any application in this particular arbitration matters with respect to domestic award, where this part 2 of the Arbitration Act applies, there the jurisdiction of the courts is those courts where other courts have no jurisdiction. If people, those who are doing arbitration, they cannot go to any other court, and therefore other courts are barred from the jurisdiction. Now the limitation is also very important, that the cause of action, as you know, the claims are to be filed in time and all. So section 43 deals with law of limitation. Under 1963 Limitation Act, the provisions are given under Article 137 of the Limitation Act. All claims are entertained within that period prescribed there. So the law of limitation also applies on par with Limitation Act 1963. Now, so far as the part 2 is concerned, that I have done with, this deals with domestic awards, from how the arbitration agreement is drawn, how it is invoked, how the arbitrators are appointed, how the judiciary invoked, and how the proceedings are conducted. Now the part 3 that deals with arbitration award, foreign awards to be enforced. Then there's a conciliation chapter that is separate, but that we cannot conclude here in this short time. So I have just tried to sum up in these points, and I hope something has reached to you. Hello.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Am I talking to Nitesh Kothari ji?
Sir, you are talking to Krishna Purohit.
Krishna ji.
We are also here, don't worry. I am Sandeep.
All are here only, sir.
No, see, I could see only now because the screen was showing only my face and.
Okay.
Yes. We all kept the screen or video off actually. The reason you cannot see that. Excellent presentation, sir. Fantastic.
See, normally my assistants are there. They for which virtual conference, I just speak without putting in ear or anything. When we conduct IPR, those trademarks hearings online and some tribunal or something. But here now what happened? It is a lecture, and I have to look into certain my reference points or something on the screen as well. So the sharing of screen and all I am not much used to. So please pardon me.
No problem, sir.
It was fantastic, and it was on the flow. No problem.
I just wanted to give more information and the scheme of the law. As you are already chartered accountants and you are fully aware of, you have the elementary knowledge, no doubt about it. You may not have the expert knowledge. And since now...
Sir, sorry to interrupt. we got some question.
Yes,
My
yes, please.
question is how to choose an arbitrator from Nishar Khan. How to choose arbitrator?
How to choose an arbitrator? No, that either party. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes.
See, both the parties, they mention in the agreement a particular designated authority should be the arbitrator. In that case, that designated authority will be sole arbitrator. Or if there is a qualification set in the arbitration clause itself, that he will be a retired high court judge or a qualified chartered accountant. If suppose there are disputes relating to accounting or some tax matters or something, so they can parties can choose. And if there is a silence on that particular arbitration agreement on this point, then party by consent they can choose. And if one party appoint a particular arbitrator and send a communication to other side, the other side can accept it, and or otherwise they can suggest a counter. And if there is a dispute, then you have to go for high court.
Krishna, please
Thank you.
continue. I think Nisar
Okay.
got his answer as proposed by Nahar sir.
Yeah, yeah.
So any other
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Naharji, for sharing your valuable knowledge on the topic of alternative dispute resolution with arbitration. Now I request CA Amitji to give formal vote of thanks to our today's speaker, Advocate Naharji. Over to you, Amit Bhai.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Krishna. It is a immense pleasure to give vote of thanks to Advocate Nahar ji. He has explained the arbitration in very much simple way, and I can say that our CA members now can expand their practice in arbitration also simultaneously. So with this, we thank you, sir, for giving your valuable time and sharing your vast knowledge with us. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I thank you all of you for patient hearing, and we will see next further series if there is anything. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Again, thank you so much, Niharji.